And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. It is out. It is time. I'm coming to you live from Paris, and I can confirm that the Springboks have done it. They have done what everybody dared them to do. They've done what pundits feared they would do. They've done what coaches thought they wouldn't try do again. The 7-1 split is back, ladies and gentlemen. It is back, and we're going to have a lot of fun this weekend, aren't we? Rassie Erasmus and Jacques Nienaber have officially unleashed a 7-1 split on Ireland. And this is not a last-minute change. This is the plan, by the way. This is now, 5-6 days in advance, announcing the team with a 7-1 split. And who would have thought that this would ever have been possible a few years ago? When you think back to 2019 and how the bomb squad was deployed, and that was sort of considered like a whole new thing and a whole new sort of experiment, and then that was going to change rugby potentially. Well, if we thought that was going to be something a bit different, how about what we're going to see this weekend? 7 forwards on the bench, just the one backline player who is a scrum half, out-and-out scrum half, and that is how we plan on beating Ireland. It's a bold strategy. It's very risky. High risk, high reward, I think, is probably what the best way of describing it is. They threatened to do it. They've done it before with the late injury in inverted commas. But they've yet to actually announce a 7-1 split off the bat. And they've just done that now. So if you are just tuning in, that is the team, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go through it in just a bit. We're going to talk a little bit about what could go wrong, what could go right, where it's useful, where it's going to be, might be a problem, for example, and really understand the ins and outs of the 7-1 split. The good news, by the way, is we will also have the press conference up a bit later, where we will get we'll get an update from Jacques Nienaber about exactly why they've gone with a 6-2 split, as well as some more information about the choice of 6-2 split, because there are still a couple of interesting selections, even within the sort of the 7-1 split. For example, if we look at the makeup of the forwards on the bench. So before we do, please do smash against the like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. And let's get stuck into this, by the way. So in case I mentioned, I'm coming to you from my little Airbnb in Paris, and my colleague is currently at the press conference, so we'll hopefully be getting some information filtering through as the show goes on. That is set to start at about 7 o'clock. So hopefully we'll get a bit more information coming into there. But for now, all we do know is that is what the team is. And I'm going to go and bring up some quotes now, and sort of talk a little bit about what the thinking was. Right, so let's just go through the team, shall we? So 9 players who sat out our Sunday 66-0 win have returned to the starting lineup, and those are the following. Well, actually, sorry. The 2 players that retained the places on the run-on team are Bongi Mbonambi and Damian Willemse. Those are the only two players who are in the starting lineup that started over the weekend. Damian Willemse moves from fly half to full back. Stephen Kitsoff, Frans Malherbe, Jasper Wiese, JC Creel all come from the bench into the starting lineup. And after that, it's basically a brand new team. So if we look at it over here, it is Stephen Kitsoff, Bongi Mbonambi, Frans Malherbe. We expected them to start. In fact, I predicted this pack, to be honest. Even Etzebeth, Frank Master in the second row, I think that's about right. And then Siya Klese, Pierce Toy, Jasper Wiese is the loose trio. No Dwayne from the 23 is interesting. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Faf de Klerk will start, and he's next to Martin Leeuw, comes back into the side. Chesney Colby, Kurt Lawrence are back, as well as is Damien De Lendi, who partners JC Creel, Damian Willemse at fullback. And then the 7-1 split off the bench is Dion Fourie, Oxenchair, Trevor Nyakane, Jean Klein, Arcus Neyman, Marco van Staden, Kwagga Smith, and Kobus Reinach. Very, very interesting. In terms of what Jacques Nienaber had to say about the team in his press release, he says that Ireland are a quality team with a strong pack of forwards and talented backs, and they play with a lot of speed. So we know what we have to do to deliver a top draw performance for things to go our way. We faced them late last year, and we've been keeping an eye on their performances this year, so everyone knows what we have to do this weekend. We're fortunate to have a match-fit squad that have been building depth and versatility for a while, and believe this is the best combination for this match. For many of these players, this is their second or third World Cup, so they know what it takes to perform at this level. And we believe this team has the right balance of players to achieve what we would like to achieve in this match. We know it's going to be a grind of a match, and we know we need to pitch up physically and mentally. We also need to start with intensity and stay focused until the final whistle. This is a massive game for both sides with an eye to progressing out of our pool, so we need to be extremely accurate in all areas of our game. He also brushed off any sort of links between the likes of him, Rassie Erasmus, Felix Jones, having all obviously worked from Ireland, Felix Jones having played, as well as the likes of Jean Klein and Jacques Nienaber, who currently play in Ireland, in terms of giving them a special advantage, saying the teams have been facing one another for years, and just as they know us, we know them. At the end of the day, both teams have immense respect for one another, and while this aspect may be entertaining for the fans, the match will come down to who plays the most effective rugby on the day. And so the Boks returned to the training field on Tuesday after having Monday off, and yeah, they'll train tomorrow. I think they will have Thursday off, my understanding, and then captain's run on Friday. In terms of some of the stats and some of the milestones for the games, in terms of our match stats against Ireland, we have played 27, we have won 18, lost 8, drawn 1. We've scored 522 points for us. We had 399 points scored against us. Our win percentage against Ireland is 66.7%. The average score is 19 points to 15. In terms of some stats, the total number of caps for the Springboks lineup is 833, 271 in the back line, 562 among the forwards, 208 on the bench. The average caps per player in the back line is 38, the forwards 70, and the players on the bench average 26. This has really been a long time coming. I think that's the big thing we need to talk about. Not so much the 7-1 split, but this squad and this team. And some people complain about that sort of aspect. The fact that they're saying it's an old squad, it's an aging squad. And to a certain degree it is. To a certain degree it is an older squad. I think it's one of the older squads in the World Cup. But this is not by accident. This is not a case of there's a lack of youth, there's a lack of younger players coming through. This is very deliberate. Over the past 4 years, we they sat down and said, right, we've won the World Cup. How do we retain the World Cup? And what they did is they looked at various teams that have won the World Cup, and they've said, right, if you look at teams who have won the World Cup, the average age seems to be a trend of this. The number of caps per player sort of tend to be this, and it's about getting the right players into the right positions. I also think there's an interesting sort of thing about winning the World Cup for the first time versus retaining a World Cup, where I think they're quite different in terms of your mentality. And I think that, in many ways, I think it's easier to win a World Cup for the first time than to actually retain it. But I think in the first time, nothing to lose, everything to gain. You're sort of desperate. You're desperate to prove it. So you're thinking this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. You'll never be able to do it again, and then you do it. I think retaining a World Cup is a completely different sort of psyche or mentality, and for that reason, I think they've decided that they need to have experienced players who understand what it's like to have already won things and to try to win it again. And that's why they've gone with players. I mean, for example, an average of 70 caps amongst the forwards. I mean, it's mental. That is absolutely mental. It means that every single player in that sort of starting lineup, bar Jasper Wiese, has got like 60, 70 caps. And that is the truth, by the way. Bar Jasper Wiese, they're all 50 caps plus in that pack. So these are, to play 50 caps for your country means you are a proper test player, by the way. Like no average rugby player plays 50 tests internationally. So those are proper forwards, and it's about the experience. It's about having the personalities, the players, the experience of having been there, done that in various scenarios, and these players all have done that as well. So it's been very deliberate in terms of having that experience, having this sort of quality and number of caps across the team, which is, again, as I said, is very, very deliberate. In terms of some milestones, before I get into some of the comments, as I said, we've got a poll running in the chat, so go and vote on the poll and let me know what you think of the team, whether you like it, whether you don't like it, whether you're happy with it. And then I'll come to the comments in just a little bit. But in terms of some milestones, Currie is someone to watch, and he has scored 12 tries in 11 tests, and so he is someone that I think that Ireland will be watching pretty carefully. If we look at Centre Damon Lendi, he's going to be playing his 75th test on Friday. So again, we're talking about that experience. The fact that they in the forwards they average 75 when the back line not quite as high, but and that's mostly due to the likes of Monty Liebach and Currie who are obviously very new to international rugby. But Damon Lendi, for a lot of criticism he's had recently, 75 tests for him. Will he make 100 tests? Another 25 tests he's got. If he were to play the rest of the World Cup, he'd play another 4 tests. 31 years old, get another sort of 20 odd tests in. Could very well do it, to be honest. He only has to play for another 2-3 years, and he could do it. So it could become a test cap centurion potentially. That could still very much on the cards for him. I'm going to fix his name while I mention him, actually. There we go. And other milestones is that it's the first time the Springboks and Ireland will clash at a Rugby World Cup, making it the first test ever between these two sides at a neutral venue. Very, very interesting. Bongi Menambi, France Mahoba, Stephen Kitsov, Eben Etzebeth, PSF Toy, Franco Master, Sia Khaleesi, Faf de Klerk, and Damon Lendi are the only players left from the last time the Boks beat Ireland back in 2016 in Nelson Mandela Bay. Kitsov and Imbanamdi made their Springbok debuts in that match 7 years ago, while Faf de Klerk and Master debuted early in that series against the Irish. Replacement forwards Jean-Claude Arcastin and Marco van Staden will all face Ireland for the first time. And the Springboks have won their last 7 tests in Paris. Their last defeat in the city was in 2005 by France, where they lost 20 points to 26. So it's a happy hunting ground, is there's Paris and the Stade de France, where we have obviously lifted the Webb Ellis Trophy before. So it does bode well. It does bode well in terms of history. But what we also know is that means nothing. We can look into it. You can try and build a narrative, but at the end of the day, it does mean nothing. It's all about who pitches up on the day. That's the main thing. It's not about history. 2 different sides. First ever game in neutral venue. You can't look at previous results, but if you do like it, at least there is a certain amount. And again, it does play with the psyche. You sit there thinking, right, we actually do well in this venue. We don't lose in this venue, for example. And stuff. So there's always sort of small parts that kind of build into an overall psyche and where the players' minds are and stuff like that. So that definitely does sort of sometimes play a part. How big of a part, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm going to go through some of the comments over here. Obviously, there's a lot coming in here, so apologies if I don't get to yours or if I skim over it. I'm just going to try and pick out a few. Billy Explorer says, really pleased with the 7-1, worth the risk. Look forward to Saturday. Tim Vandenberg says, don't think we'd be able to risk the 7-1 if we hadn't such a stern defensive display versus Scotland. In any case, it shows where the Boks think the game will be won or lost. Moritz Ferreira says, Jasper Visa's ruck work rate on attack is immense. Keno Hollenbach saying, Faf should not be starting, neither should Lendi. Mark Isaac saying, exciting and full confidence for the match on Saturday, Springboks. Jason said, well, we're not only playing for the World Cup, but also the #1 spot. Correct. Dylan saying, happy, but would love to see Moody unleashed. And Lawrence saying, while the Pimpy scored 3 tries, he isn't as versatile as the other wingers. The Blue Baron says, imagine how good the PG would be if New Zealand doesn't steal their players. Musa Boss says, Kwaka over Dwayne, think that's good. Video over Moody. It's a great team. Love it. Calvin saying, it's a nuke squad. Yeah, it is very much a bomb squad on steroids, isn't it? And I'm in for it, really. I really like it. I really think that, why not, really? It's a risk. There's no doubt about it. I said it in my announcement video, the upload earlier. There's no doubt that there's a risk to the strategy. There are and substantial risk. It's not a small risk. It's not a small, something bad might happen. It's a huge risk going with a 7-1. You've really got to have full confidence in players' abilities to shift into different positions. And this is why alignment camps and why this Bok management have gone back to the same players all the time. This is why they've had a very much a core group for quite a long time, which they've worked with and they trust, because it is about the versatility. It is about them understanding the system, so that if things go wrong, Quagga Smith can move to the wing and he understands his role. Kobus Rana can go into the wing and he understands his role. Pap de Klerk can go into 10 and he'll understand what his role is there. Damien Willemse can go into 12 and he'll understand what his role is. Jesse Creel can go into the wing. Kurt Lawrence can go to fullback. Chesn Colby could go to fullback. Damien Delendi could go to outside centre. And they will understand what they have to do on defensively and how the defensive structure works. And that's the thing I think we don't pay enough attention to, is the fact that how much effort and how much alignment having a 7-1 split creates is needed really to be able to implement. You need to have everybody on the same page, and that's playing on the wing is not just so simple as going and standing on the left hand side of the park. You need to understand defensively, when are you shooting up, when are you not shooting up, what defensive reads are you making, when you're chasing a high ball, where are you chasing a high ball, on attack, where are you standing, when do you get involved in a ruck, when you're not getting involved in a ruck, when are you coming inside to look for work, when you stay on the outside. You've got to understand that, and there's those sort of small intricacies to every single position, 1 through to 15, and we have created a squad which basically everybody understands different roles so that they can. Grant Williams understands if he's on the wing, this is what he has to do. Kane Moody understands if he's on the wing or if he's outside centre, these are what his different jobs are. And I don't think we fully appreciate just how much planning and how much work that would have taken. These guys spend an incredible amount of time off field, learning plays, learning positioning, learning the game plan, the structures of how we want to play so that they can have the versatility to be able to do this. You can't do a 7-1 split. You can't just put, if you don't have that alignment, you can't just put 23 players in a team and just be able to expect players to be able to play wherever. The only reason this works is because they've got this group of players together that they've had for a very long time, and they trust that players can adapt and can cope. Yes, we don't want Quagga Smith playing on the wing, ideally. We don't want Kobus Reinhardt filling in the wing, ideally. We don't want Damien Delinde playing outside centre, ideally. That's not the plan. And if there are no injuries, that won't happen. But we are comfortable enough that if it does, that we can still get the job done. And think about that backing. Think about the fact that what we are saying with this split, this bench concept, is that we think we can beat Ireland with Quagga Smith on the wing. We think we can beat Ireland with Damien Delende at outside centre. We think we can beat Ireland with Chesn Colby at 50, Damien Willemse at 12. We believe we can beat Ireland with, I don't know, Sir Khaleesi having to run in the back line, Marco van Staden having to run in the back line, Archie Snyman having to run in the back line. If that could happen. You get 3 backline injuries, and it's not just a Quagga Smith that has to join the back line. Somebody else has to come into the back line. Are we suddenly going to see a Marco van Staden playing at inside centre, for example? Are we going to see a PSF Toy playing in the back line? How does that work? Does Dion Ferry, for example, go into the back line and Bongi Manambi plays a full 80 minutes? There are so many different possible things that could go wrong, and there have to be so many different contingencies for those scenarios. So it's really not as simple as just saying, oh, well, it's just, you just need one player who can play in the back line. It's far more intricate than that, which emphasizes, so I'm trying to emphasize just how brave of a decision this is, how big of a risk, but how brave of a decision it is, and how aligned and how much backing the coaches have in their players that they believe that this will work and can work. So going back to some of the comments, where are we saying here? DJ Spud says, no risk, Box know what they are doing. I still mean, it's always a risk, isn't it? Morris says, number 13 is the most difficult defensive position in rugby. Jesse Creel is very good defensively, 100%. Bernard is saying, I would have liked to see Moody on the wing and cover for centre as well. Jason says, why haven't they included Pollard in this game while they're thinking of introducing him in the knockout stage? So this was addressed slightly yesterday. Pollard only arrived yesterday and they didn't actually train. So today would have been his first training session. The Box basically have a policy, if you don't train Monday or Tuesday or whatever, you don't play on the weekend. And so they said that whilst he is fully fit, he still needs to get aligned, he still needs to catch up, and he still needs to get used to the systems. And basically, he'll play against Tonga. I think he'll start against Tonga, to be honest. I think Manie starts this weekend. I think Pollard will play a full 80 against Tonga or 60, 70 minutes against Tonga. And hopefully that idea is to go to the quarterfinals with Damian Willemse, Manie, Faf de Klerk, and Andre Pollard all having minutes of 10. We don't need to worry about Faf de Klerk now because he's become a fourth choice flower half as opposed to a third choice flower half. But the contingencies are there. They've had the opportunity to check that. So it was too soon for him to play against Ireland, and I think that's the right decision. I think we've been training for Ireland for a long time. There's no doubt that last week 1 or 2 training sessions would have been dedicated towards Ireland as opposed to Romania. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't. So in that respect, it's not as simple as just being able to draft him in. And for example, he'd have to start because he couldn't be on the bench with a 7-1 split. So it's either starting or he's not on the team at all, and I definitely wouldn't be starting him. Conrad says that a 6-2 split, Kwaka is also a scrum off. Well, to be fair, I mean, you can name whatever Kwaka is and he can do it all. Radovan said this is going to make big news. Tian saying the possibilities of this team are interesting. Potential for Arendse to move to full back, Billings at the centre. Yeah, I mean, Damien de Lende could be at outside centre. Jesse Creel could be on the wing. Cheslin Colby or Arendse could be at full back. Damien Willemse could be at full back, could be on the wing, could be at inside centre. Faf de Klerk could be at scrum off, at flower half. Kubas Reinhardt could be at wing or scrum off. Manie Libbok could also all of a sudden have to play at 15 or something like that. Every single player in the back line covers a different position. That's what's very interesting. There's not a single player there who can only play one position in inverted commas. And they have played in other positions. Damien Delaney is probably the least versatile player there, and he's played in the wing and he's played outside centre before. I don't really like him at outside centre, so I think I think Jesse Creel is probably the player we cannot afford to lose at all. But I think that we can cope with sort of the other players going. That would be probably, touch wood, nobody gets injured. But I think the person we can least cope with getting injured is probably Jesse Creel, because I think that, obviously, as somebody mentioned earlier, that defensive outside centre channel is so important and so difficult to get right, and he's very good at that. Damien Delaney hasn't had as much experience in that, and it's just a very different role. Daryl says, surprise me, Moon is not on the bench. DJ Spud says the rest of the rugby world needs to catch up with the box way of thinking. And Dominico says, I'm guessing we're going to have to isolate Sexton like we did with Finn. Mapimpi is missing. Yeah, so Mapimpi's not made. I didn't pick Mapimpi to be in here, to be honest, either. What else we say? Contender saying, what do we call this? The nuclear squad. Maybe we see Willemse at 12. Tepo saying, guess we're about to find out if Dion and Marco are up to test rugby standard at hooker position, particularly at scrummaging. We're interested to see who does actually scrum at hooker. I mean, Dion Fourie is the natural thing of it, but you could also very well have Marco Verstaden in the front row with Dion Fourie, Kwaka Smith, and like a Peter Steph Toy on the back row. Living at Large says they should just do it with Nike as sponsor and all. Lunga saying wrong turn, AK Kwaka Smith is suitable for the 7-1. Sergio says let's hope Dwayne Dion can carry hooker position as well. Do you see Iron targeting the backline to force an injury? I don't really think so. I don't think it's as simple as that. Yeah, you could try and put in some big hits. You could try and bring a lot of physicality into it, but yeah, I don't think that's going to be a tactic, for example. Jared says if we stick to a 7-1 in knockouts, what happens to Pollard and Manie? You have to have one or the other, really. Toka says, does nobody say anything about Mapimpi? I don't know really what there is to say about Mapimpi. He's not particularly, unfortunately, he is a one, it sounds very harsh to call him a one-dimensional player, but he's a one-position player. Mapimpi can play on the wing and only the wing. He does not cover fullback, he does not cover centre, doesn't even really play on the right wing. I don't think he's ever played on the right wing. He scored a hat-trick, 100%. These are our two form wings, really. I mean, Cheslin Colby's the best wing by country mile. That I don't think that's for debate. Currently, Arendse is scoring at more than a try a match. And defensively been very sound. So how do you leave him out, for example? So it's always going to be an issue, isn't it? Because I mean, we've left out Caden Moody, who before Romania had yet to have a bad game for the Boks. So there's always going to be somebody that has to be left out, unfortunately. I do think we very much got this right with regards to our wings. I do think that. I think again, it's harsh because Mapimpi scored a hat-trick against Romania, but I do think that for me, Arendse, Colby, and Caden Moody were ahead of him in the pecking order with regards to the form that they've shown this year. Sergio saying, nice thing about our backs, they're fast. Centers can come through to cover defense. Calvin says Fafa's hooker. Gasson Moses saying good move to not play Andre Pollard. I believe is rusty. He should see play Tonga. Kwasi says he's not happy with this team. Kutso saying if you're thinking about it, 7-1 split is not exactly as risky as present. Our backs don't do a lot of tackling. Our backs do a lot of tackling. We'll all have to do a lot of tackling. And Fencer saying the thing is that backline is stacked with utilities. Williams, Creel, Colby, de Klerk, to a less extent, Damien Delaney can also cover 30. Well, that's the thing. Every single player over there covers another position. You know, there's no position that's not covered in inverted commas. Stephen G saying, as an Irish fan, I do love how South Africa names their team early. Dave says, I'm not happy. No Dwayne and no Billy, but we'll still win. Bad move, but we'll still win. Josh says, this is horrible. Where is Grant? Where is Pollard? I mean, Pollard's been there for less than a day. What is happening with Dwayne? Yeah, for me, that was quite an interesting one. I'm surprised I haven't gone with Dwayne. And I'm not entirely sure why. Malcolm Stardom, I suppose, is more versatile in better comments because now he's covering hooker, apparently. But you very much could have gone with Dwayne. And I'm still very surprised that they didn't. Because I think they would have liked his experience. Look, you in terms of what he brings to the team with regards to the fetching ability and stuff like that, you've got that in Kwaka Smith and Dion Fourie and Marco Verstappen. Lots of players, fantastic players over the ball in that second half. You know, people always complain about, oh, we don't have a fetcher in the starting lineup. For example, I think Stephen Kitshoff will do a lot of breakdown work. But in that second half, you've got 3 genuine fetchers in Marco Verstappen, Kwaka Smith, and Dion Fourie. You've then got... I'll tell you what, Trevor Nyakani gets over the ball very well as well. So you've got some very, very good options in terms of fetches in that second half. So I think, you know, in terms of winning those penalties, breakdown penalties, targeting the breakdown itself, there are a lot of options there as well. So I think we'll be quite sorted there. We're still waiting to see if there are any injuries. So let me try and find out. So there are no injuries, by the way. I can confirm that now. It is, fully fit squad. So there's nobody has been left out because of injury. Everyone is up for selection. And therefore, if you've not been picked, it's because you haven't been picked. So Dwayne Vermeulen has not been picked because they don't want to pick him or they thought that he's not the best option. Same goes with the Pollard, who wasn't available. But Mapimpi is fit, for example. Sounds like Vincent Cocker's then fit as well. So that's very good news. It is interesting with regards to players who haven't been picked, but it's very good news in that we've got a clean bill of health and that we don't need to look about potential other players coming in because we've already lost Malcolm Marx and we'd really like to not lose anybody else. And you just think, imagine Malcolm Marx is part of this team. How's that for a bomb squad? Just worry we don't have a proper Jacker in the starting pack. Yeah, I think Stephen Kitt's going to have to do a lot of breakdown work there. Klaus says, Box need to be aware of that middle channel. Ireland tends to do switch passes in the middle channel and Keenan comes bursting out the middle to cut teams in half, 100%. In fact, that's very much why I think Jesse Creel's going to be very important with regards to that sort of outside center channel as well. Because I think they do often have players running on the shoulders and stuff. But yeah, that inside switch is something they're going to have to watch for very clearly. Shane says, not sure I believe we will take the field 7-1. Last minute change coming Saturday. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Camper says, with this versatility required, I would have thought that Jean-Luc Deprez would have fit him better than Jasper Wiese. Interesting point. Walter said, I kind of think Ireland will win, but I might suit the Box that way, so they will play France, not the All Blacks. Jared says, I would have thought Moody at 14 over Orange may be a good option because of versatility. Yeah, look, I mean, he covers outside centre. Orange covers full back if needs be, so 6-1 arm doesn't the other. I do think that outside centre is for me probably my worry zone because I think Damien Lendi covers it, but not brilliantly. So yeah. So in terms of some injury news, Vincent Koch is returning to training tomorrow, so he will be available for Tonga. We will have a press conference up with Imani Liebach and Cheslin Colby up later, which will be very cool. If you go to Sianda, it says the Mapimpi and Andre deserve the place in there. Master saying, watching from Nigeria, but my favorite sport is cricket. I don't understand rugby. Well, stamp on a long year and we'll teach you. Marcus said, it's full circle. The 7-1 split against the All Blacks was designed for this specific game. Talk about rugby. Chess. Conrad DeFries saying, Dwayne left out because we need a backup for the hooker position. Had Marks been fit, Dwayne would have played and Free would have been left out. But this is the plan B on the Big Island plan. Well, you could have still had Dion for me as a hooker replacement and Dwayne for me, to be fair. Dale says, Rusty and Jacques have been planning this for this game for 9 months. Blue Baron says, Pacific Islanders rugby union team exists from 2004 2008, but they got rid of it. Okay. Marcus here saying, Delendi is dimensional and lost his pace and passing skills, whereas Esterhazen, I'm very happy to see Damon Delendi there because he needs to defend against Bundy Aki, who is playing stupidly good rugby at the moment. Mark said, 7-1 split is asking for trouble. Leandro Baez says, there should be 4 options when voting. Yes, mostly, not really, and no. No, I think we just keep it nice and simple here. Almost 500 votes, by the way. So if you haven't voted already, please go and vote and let us know if you're happy with the team. Do you like it? Do you not like it? If so, what do you like? What don't you like? And yeah, let me know in the chat. Thrive Health says, it'll be interesting to see if Ireland will be forced to do a 7-1 split 2. They won't do it. I can guarantee you right now. I'll be very surprised if they even go with 6-2, to be honest. Contender says, the push comes to shove and Reinhardt goes down. God forbid we see Dwayne come in and we do an 8. We'll not be doing an 8-0 split. Greg says, look, it's a risk, but now is... Sorry, I'm just updated. Where's that gone? It's a risk, but now's the time in a pool game when Pollard is up and running. It'll be back to a 6-2 split, no doubt. Whiskey Boys says, Mapimpi off the bench would have been a nice option. Strong team isn't good enough to win the game. If so, then is it good enough to win the World Cup? What about uncontested scrums? I don't think we need to worry about that. We've got the standard thing. Mohammed says, I don't care how much points the box score as long as they put pitch a shutout. Is out of the tournament or will he be available later on? And currently he's out of the tournament. Saying Billy out of the big call. Then Magnus Becker says that not many teams are able to leave out the caliber of players we are. The game plan may also have a lot to do with selections. That would say either way, quarterfinal exit awaits Ireland as per usual. Daryl says Bundyaki only played well against Romania and Tonga. This is not a test. That's where Ireland are going to struggle. No, listen, first of all, you can only play what's good in front of you, so you can't just dismiss players because of the opposition they've had to play. Bundyaki has been brilliant, phenomenal. He's been getting better and better as the years have gone by. So to sit there, if you've watched any of his game and to sit there and try and dismiss it because they were playing against Romania and Tonga, it's a nice idea. He's playing great rugby. Regardless of the opposition, he's playing brilliant rugby. You know, we can't talk about, are we going to sit there and say that Pimpy and Kubas's hat-tricks weren't good because they were against Romania and therefore shouldn't really count? You know, yes, you can sit there saying maybe they wouldn't have scored those against better opposition, but you still have to play well to be able to do it. And Bundy Aki has been in some sublime form, and I think that dismissing that, you dismiss that at your own peril, really. So yeah, we're gonna be having a reaction show, by the way, which will be after this over here, which I'm busy making sure that it's all ready to go. So we're going to a panel. I'll probably be popping in with them. So I just want to make sure that that's all sorted. So we're going to wrap up in just a little bit. Before we do, I just want to make sure that the show these guys are all going to be ready to go a bit later. You have to give a show title. So that's going to go live at 8 o'clock, by the way. So this is going to take you there. So you don't need to do anything. But after the show, we'll be moving to that show. So yeah, I'm gonna have a bit of a panel. I'm gonna see if I can get onto it, but otherwise, Reza, Carl, and Dan will be chatting about the team, and it's gonna be very, very cool to as I said, let's continue the conversation. Very keen to see what everybody has to say. A lot of people have quite a lot of opinions on the team, so don't just share them with me, share them with them as well. That show will go live at 8 o'clock, which is in about half an hour's time, and this will redirect there, so you don't actually have to do anything for it. I'm just going to make sure that it is going to redirect there. And then we're going to start wrapping up here. It's been a very cool show, but very interesting day announcement. But so the question is it going to work? I think that's the question on everybody's mind. You know, it's one thing that we've now done it. We've now said, right, stuff it. We're going to try it. The next thing is it work? And it's amazing how it'll be like all or nothing. If we win, it'll be like the best thing since sliced bread. Jacques Nienaber and Rassie Erasmus will be called geniuses. You know, it'll be like the best thing ever. It'll be like 40 chess. It'll be revolutionizing the game. Some people will sit there and go and say, well, we need to change the rules to not allow this because this is dangerous, this is not acceptable, and stuff like that, yada, yada, yada. Similarly, if we then lose, it'll be the opposite. You know, it'll be, right, well, you know, what do you expect? This was deserved. You know, you can't just, you know, do things like this and not expect them to, and just expect it all to be okay. It was irresponsible. The coaching staff deserved to take all the blame for it, blah, blah, blah. So it's a bit of a, as I said when I started the show, it's a high risk, high reward strategy. And that's the one thing that I really like about our coaches is they're not afraid to make the big decisions. They're not worried about popularity. They're not worried about what happens to them, for example. They are there to do a job. And whether it goes well, whether it goes badly, they are happy to take the blame, by the way. They're very, very happy to always accept the blame. And very rarely take the credit, to be honest. That's kind of just the mantra, is that they sit there and say, well, we will make the tough decisions, and we'll make the unpopular decisions. We'll make the decisions that some people might not like. But we believe that this is going to be, this is going to work. And therefore we're willing to kind of ride and die on it. And I really like it, to be honest. I really like the fact that they're willing to do something different. At the end of the day, I do think to actually win this World Cup, we are going to have to do something very special. I do think in many ways, whilst I think as a team we're better and in a better place, and I think as a squad it's stronger than it was 2019. I think from a psyche perspective, I think going back to back is a lot harder than winning it for the first time. I do think defending a title is incredibly difficult, and this is going to be a huge effort. And therefore we've had to sort of think out the box a little bit. So before I sort of go to some of the last comments and I wrap up my show, before I hand over to the panel, which will be live in about half an hour, please just continue to vote on the poll, and let's close that very soon and see what everybody has to say. So at the moment we've had almost 600 votes, and still about 85% of people are very happy with the team. So let's go and have a look at what some of the comments are to say. Master keeping us informed that Milan's beating Newcastle. So I might try and actually go get to that. I'm not watching the Ireland game. We will be there. We will have somebody on the ground, but I won't be there, unfortunately. I actually had a pass. So how's this, by the way? I'm gonna make a plea to you. Can we all just agree that we will be on the watch along on Saturday? Because I had a media pass to go to the game, and it's like down the road, eh? That way. It's behind me. I've gone past the stadium twice. It's just down the road. It's a 10-minute drive, and I had tickets to go to the game, and I've decided not to go to the game to come and do the watch along, because I think that is where I need to be. At least with you people for the game. So can we please all just commit to all being here on Saturday and making it worth my while missing? Because I'm absolutely gutted that I did give it up. It is the right decision because I want to do it with you guys. I want to watch it with you guys and stuff on the watch along. Didn't do the one on Sunday, so I'll be back on this weekend. But let's make it worthwhile, shall we? Daryl says I've watched all his games, but he has not played against Creel and Co. Sublime for him against weaker position. I thought Bundy Aki's a good player. I won't accept that he's not. Kieran says, I'm looking forward to Rusty's light show and perhaps some rugby as well. There'll be a day with that 7 split. We'll come back to Horn South Africa. Hopefully Saturday is the day. Very clear to see Kieran supporting. There will be a day. There's no doubt about it. It's a high risk, high reward. Where else are we going? So, yeah. Afikita says, the most important player on the bench now becomes the versatile Quaka Smith, but I did always know Deanna Marco would feature due to scrums and lineouts. Corner says, Stephen, what website to use for stats on players and teams? I use quite a few different ones. Obviously, I mean, at the moment, we've got the World Cup website, which is quite useful. Otherwise, I use Ultimate Rugby quite often. I use a bit of Rugby Pass. I try and use Opta where I can as well. So there's lots of different ones I use. I wouldn't say there's a particular one. Ultimate Rugby is the one I use usually for my post-match review because I like the format of that. But Rugby Pass is also very useful. Dale said, everyone thinks All Blacks will be easy in the quarterfinal. They forget that Brazil and all their big boys injuries guys will be back. Well, it's just Brazil really that needs to come back. Brody Retallick has made his comeback. Festa says, well, at the end of the day, the Box need 6 points for the last 2 pool games to get through. Since teams on the same table points decide by head-to-head, most Scotland can get is 15 points. So, yeah, we win this game and we're basically through. A couple of score predictions there. Twisted saying SA by 12. Sean's going Ireland by 20. Dale's going Box by 30. Scientist saying SA by 5. Toxic say, very interesting. This is an absolute mind game. This is the best squad in the World Cup. Box by 21 says Bystander. Brad McGee says, need to get you in a box, do your watch-alongs at the stadiums. I'd absolutely love to. Unfortunately, until we get all the millions, we will not be allowed to do that. But we're going to work on it. We're going to try it. We never know. Maybe one day. Donnie says, if it's time to try this, the time is now. Great gamble. And what about Geordie Barrett 12? When is he back? I'm not sure. They've got a week off today. Vincent Koch, by the way, I saw that question earlier. He is back, or he will be back to training tomorrow. So his injury is not serious. He is set to return to training. And yeah, so we've actually got no injuries in the squad at the moment. Everyone will be back in training tomorrow. And unless there's anything, touch wood, that happens, and hopefully it doesn't, this week, we've got a full team full of health going into the game. And hopefully that'll be the same case after the game. People, thank you very much. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. Nice to see some new faces or some new faces from the World Cup jumping in the chat. We obviously do this for every single Springbok game. And we'll be live throughout the week. I can't guarantee the schedule because it kind of all depends on where I am and what I'm doing. Things are obviously quite difficult to get things done over here in Paris on the ground. So sometimes the content will be a little bit sporadic, but we will have a World Rankings preview coming out tomorrow morning. We've got a preview of the France versus Namibia game. Italy versus Uruguay game. That'll be out tonight. A preview of France versus Italy will be France versus Namibia. I'll get there in the end. Will be out tomorrow. We'll have press conferences up tonight as well, to keep an eye out for that. And yeah, this is basically your one-stop shop for all your World Cup news. So if you are new to the channel, then get involved and subscribe, turn your notifications on, and you'll get all the latest news as and when it happens. And yeah, go and keep our panel company. They go live in less than half an hour. This stream will direct you to that, and all you got to do is stay on here and go give them your support. People, thank you very much, and I will see you guys all next